Menna Stone, Chapter 17. Aunt Frida was going to leave on Saturday morning, and I felt bad about missing her last night with us, but she insisted that I go to the dance. She said it was important for me to go out. It almost seemed she knew. She cooked all of our favorite foods for supper, but they stuck in my throat. As I dressed for the dance, I was nervous, but not scared. I wasn't thinking I was going to get whipped. I knew better. I was going to crush Claude. "I'm glad you're getting out," Mom said. She'd been pretty decent to me since Dan came back. I figured she felt sorry for me. Or maybe she was scared I was going to end up sharing his cell. As I was about to leave, I caught Aunt Frida's eye. She smiled and then came over and gave me a hug. In my ear, or as close as she could come to it, she whispered, "Just find the music." I looked down at her, tried to smile, but couldn't. As I walked to the school, I concentrated on mustering up the bloodlust I'd felt when I'd fought with Alec, my rage when I saw that torn crinoline in the nurse's office. The gym was decorated with balloons and streamers, and the music was cheesy retro disco, of all things. I scanned the crowd for Claude, but there was no sign of him. Briefly, I'd hoped that he wouldn't show up. It would solve everything if he didn't. Kat was there. I saw her immediately. She was wearing a white dress, off the shoulders, a peasant kind of thing. She made me think of Aunt Frida's Russian couple and their music. No, I pushed my hands tightly together, enough to feel pain. I wouldn't think about that now, only Claude, and Claude's goons holding my arms while he tore up my face, split my lip, ripped up my shoulder. Claude's eyes, that's what I needed to focus on. He was the bad guy. "You're a good guy, Ben," Stan had said. Stan, who had shattered a guy's jaw so that it had to be held together with wire. What did that make him? My body started shaking. I looked for somewhere to go until I stopped. What if I beat Claude to a pulp? What did that make me? I pushed my way through the crowd. Why do there have to be bad guys? Makes it easier to shoot them. By the time I reached the edge of the gym, I was soaked with sweat. A hand reached out and grabbed my shoulder. I spun, ready to fight. "Hey!" Kat moved back. "I just wanted to know if you, felt like dancing. I hear you're pretty good." I looked at her beautiful face, and everything started to spin. "Are you okay, Ben? Do you need some water? Are you drunk?" I couldn't answer. I was so far away from okay, I couldn't even see it. "I thought I told you to stay away from certain girls," Claude said, walking up to us. "You look nice, Kat. How about a dance?" He leaned on her shoulder. "I'd rather eat dirt," she said, pushing him away. "Don't tell me you're interested in ballerina boy," he said, grabbing her waist. He swayed, having obviously drowned a few pints before the dance. "Hey," he said to me over his shoulder, "it's a dance, and didn't wear your tutu." That did it. "Let's go, outside." "Don't give me orders," he hissed. Suddenly there was space around us, and people moved back to give us room. The music was blaring. I could feel it. I could hear it. Feel it. "Ooh, ooh, 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 staying alive, staying alive. Want to dance?" I sneered, moving around him in our makeshift ring, roped in by curious spectators. Somebody laughed, which infuriated Claude. He swiped at me, missing. He was bigger but clumsier. He didn't stand a chance. He was mine. I ducked easily under the second attempt and bobbed up behind him. The back of his head was well within striking distance. Badly choreographed, Miss Fleur would have said. I wouldn't hit him in the back. "Over here," I called. He roared and charged me. For a second we wrestled, an ugly pas de deux, and then we hit the floor. I twisted and rolled and stood again while he struggled to regain his balance. He was half sitting and an easy target, but I wouldn't hit a sitting duck. I waved. "Song's almost over, big guy. Get on your feet." He should have taken time to regain his balance, and he stumbled. He was so close, but I just kept moving around, floating. Claude was snorting like a bull by this time. "Hit him," one of his goons stage whispered to him. Claude turned to his friend. "You hit him." Claude looked at me then. He could see me, but I couldn't see anything beyond his dark, dilated pupils. It was as though they had absorbed all the light around us. I knew it then. He needed to fight me, but I didn't need to fight him. If I did, I'd become him. It would have been easy to avoid the blow I saw coming, and I really couldn't say why I didn't, except that I wanted to see this thing finished, to move through the pain, the way Alec had always said. Or maybe I saw Stan in his eyes. All I knew was that I wasn't going to be let hatred define me. So I stood there. As the blow connected with my cheek, I felt the pressure and the pain, but I held my ground, my arms hanging loosely to my side. Claude stared at me. The crowd grew quiet. letting the music into our ring. Staying alive, staying alive. What's wrong with you? Fight me. He was almost pleading. I shook my head, and ever so slightly I turned my face towards him. I didn't take my eyes off of his. I wanted him to see me when he hit me again. I wanted him to know who I was. But the blow didn't come. Claude just muttered something like, "He's crazy," and he stomped out of the gym with his confused buddies in tow. As he retreated, people clapped. That's when I noticed that Fish was there, smiling, and Shepherd. He could have stopped the fight. Maybe he should have, but he hadn't. He gave a little nod, then disappeared back to the chaperone shadows. I smiled, embarrassed at the commotion. I thought I could hear Aunt Frida saying, "Just find the music." I closed my eyes, and there it was. And I said, "Thank you." Huh? A voice brought me back to present. I opened my eyes. "What did you say?" Kat asked. I said, "Do you want to dance?" I hear him pretty good. "Pretty conceited," she said, smiling back. I took her by the elbow and led her to the center of the floor. I could feel my cheeks swell with the bruise that I'd have tomorrow, but I didn't mind, because I was feeling again, and we danced. I walked Kat home and sort of lost track of time after that. At home I stopped by Aunt Frida's room, but it was silent inside. I listened for sounds of nightmares, but there were none. That night I had a dream that was as clear as a painting. I was 5 years old, about to start kindergarten. I was walking down the street holding someone's hand. It was a big hand, big and warm. I was asking all sorts of questions. What was I going to learn? Would the teacher be nice? What if I had to go to the bathroom? Would she let me go? I was really concerned about that one. "Of course," the man said. "Of course she'll let you go." Even in my dream state, a shiver ran up my spine. I recognized the voice. It was a voice that had read bedtime stories to me. I could feel the bigness of his hands, hear the low, soothing bass of his voice. I could even smell the paint thinner. It was as though all my senses were remembering what I had never forgotten. As I came out of the schoolyard, I saw my dream self through the eyes of the man who waited for me. This is when I woke up. I rushed upstairs. On the landing, I pulled out the attic cord and yanked. Stairs came down with a groan from lack of use. I headed straight to the corner of the room, to the paintings covered with a sheet. I rummaged through until I found it. Then I leaned back and stared. It was my elementary school, and the children were coming out of the side entrance. A little kid was looking at the artist. His face was full of wonder and excitement and news. It was me, looking at my dad. Tears burst into my eyes. Then I heard something behind me. "Ben?" My mom was standing at the top of the stairs, wrapped in a ratty blue bathrobe, still looking half asleep. I wiped the tears away. "Yeah, Did Dad take me to kindergarten that first day?" "Did Dad take... Well, yes, I think... Yes, of course he did." "So he did? He walked with me?" Mom sat down on a crate and rubbed her eyes. "Neil wanted to be the one to... How did you know this, Ben? I don't remember telling you." "You didn't. I had a dream, and I remembered this painting. In my dream it felt really good, safe." She nodded. "He was excited about taking you, Ben, and he wanted to be the first face you'd see walking outside the school. He was. See?" I pointed at the painting. "He rushed up here as soon as he came home," she said, smiling. "He wanted to capture the moment." Her eyes drifted away from mine. "He was always so good at that." Her voice grew wistful. It was as if I could actually see her begin to disappear, one particle at a time. "We're still here, Mom. Your father was an amazing man, Ben. He turned my life upside down and inside out, until I was dizzy." She sat back, leaned against an unfinished wall, pinging insulation all around her. "You see, when I was growing up, my parents loved me, but everything was about being proper and cool. Never raise your voice, don't show too much of, well, anything." She smiled sadly. "Your dad would say, 'If you feel it, say it, shout it.'" Her hand reached out and stroked the canvas. "Paint it. I married him, loving him with all my heart and against all good judgment. I knew he'd take me places I'd never go on my own, and I trusted him. And then he died." Her voice was a whisper now, and I had to strain to hear. "He was supposed to help, Ben. He was supposed to provide the color." She looked so sad then, so lost, and I didn't have a clue how to reach her. But then she got to her feet. "But I want you to give me some credit, Ben. Not thanks, just credit. I've worked my ass off for the past 10 years for this family. I've gotten up every single morning. I've gone to work and studied and tried to make something better for us. And I think I've done a good job of that." Her chin was raised. Her words were a challenge. "I agree." Some of the wind seemed to go out of her when I said that. "You do?" "Yeah, I do. Now I do." "Oh, don't move," I said, and ran downstairs to my room. I reached inside the drawer of my nightstand and raced back upstairs again. I was breathing heavy by the time I got there, and handed her the postcard Dad had done of her. I pointed to that woman in the picture, chin raised, arms crossed, eyes shining with defiance and humor and love and light. I can see that person. Her eyes filled with tears. You can? I nodded. Yeah. When you yell about working your ass off, I could totally see what he saw. She ran her hands through her hair. Oh, Ben. She shook her head, closing her eyes. Last night Aunt Frida told me about her time in Russia. I nodded. I never understood it before. I never realized how much she'd lost. What a survivor she is. When your father died, I just accepted that part of me died with him, and the rest of has been going through the motions. I haven't really been living. I know. You and Joni both. You know me best, I think. Maybe it's because you're so much like your father. She reached out and touched the back of my hand. She told me something else last night, Ben. I waited. She told me not to lose you. I thought about my dream and how my father had held my hand. It was so big, almost wrapping around mine. Now Mom's small hand was wrapped in mine. Somewhere along the way, you've become a man, Ben. I don't want to lose you too. Then she leaned over and hugged me. I love you, she said, and it was sufficient. She pulled away and sniffed loudly, wiping away at her tears. So, she said in her old, matter-of-fact voice. It kind of startled me. The thing is, there's this guy from work. Jim, I guessed, remembering the phone conversation. Jim, she said. Anyways, he's asked me to this dance, and of course, I'm a terrible dancer. But maybe, I wonder, could you, if you can have an 85-year-old woman sashaying around the living room, maybe there's hope for me. Maybe. But don't forget, Aunt Frida's a natural. And I hugged her. End of chapter 17.